What's up, guys? Duster McDangles back here with another video, and welcome back to the NHL season preview series here for the NHL 2022-2023 season. And in today's episode, we're going to be continuing on with the Pacific Division in the Western Conference, and the episode of today's team is going to be with the Vancouver Canucks. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into the preview of the Canucks. Finishing last year off pretty strong with a record of 40, 30, and 12, the Vancouver Canucks ended up having a pretty decent year after a slow start, getting rid of their previous coach and bringing in Bruce Boudreau. Patrick Alvin wanted to get a fresh start, and he was able to get it for them. Obviously, the players on the ice had something to do with that, but the goals for, they ranked 18th. Goals against, they rank 8th. Their power play came in at 23.5% with a penalty kill on the lower end of things at 74.9%. The Vancouver Canucks, again, solid year, but let's go ahead, hop into the changes of players who left, players who they brought in, and break down their roster. The Vancouver Canucks ring in the new upcoming season with a few positive changes. A few of their players who have left and are not to return for this upcoming season: Yaroslav Halak, Alex Chiasson, and Brandon Sutter are the players who have not returned that are of note. And some of the new players that they have brought in: Colin Delia, Andrei Kuzmenko, Curtis Lazar, and the biggest addition this offseason, Ilya Mikheyev from the Toronto Maple Leafs as a free agent. Those are some big pickups which I think will help their roster out as a whole when it comes to depth, and potentially could give them a little bit more oomph when it comes down to the later end of the season to push for a playoff spot. On your screen right now is a projected line combinations from Puckpedia according to their changes this offseason, and they've got a solid lineup, solid top three forward lines with that top line: Pettersson, Miller, and Besser. I mean, that's as good as it's going to get in the NHL when it comes to a top line of youth and experience combined. Second line: Garland, Horvat, and Kuzmenko. Third line starts to tail off a little bit, but you've got Dickerson and Mikheyev there to highlight that. And then the fourth line, honestly, not terrible: Hoglander, Lazar, and Pearson. And on the back end, this is where things get a little sketchy: Hughes and Shen. Obviously, Hughes, one of the top offensive defensemen in the league. OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, is paired there with Tyler Myers on the second line, and then you've got Dermott and Pullman to round out their bottom pairing of defense. Again, these are just projections. Between the pipes, you're going to have Thatcher Demko and Spencer Martin. Demko, obviously a top goaltender in the league. We'll have to see if he can prove that this year with a Vezina caliber season, but it's really going to, I think, ride on the defense when it comes to helping him out. They were 8th in the league for goals against last season, and hopefully they can get that going in the right direction as well this upcoming year, as well as maybe get around the top 10 when it comes to goals for, and you can definitely see a team push for the top in their division and make a run in the playoffs. Now, if you start to consider the top point getters, goals, and assist leaders of last year, JT Miller with 32 goals, tied with Elias Pettersson, 32 goals last year, as well as on the assist side of things, JT Miller 67 assists, with Quinn Hughes racking up a solid 60 assists, those being their top point getters of last season. And really, at the end of the day, Pettersson had a down year. He was injured for a little bit, but not a top year for him, I would have to say, considering the fact that he's making around $7.3 million a year, and he's only getting X amount of points, and you need more from your top guy. Now, taking a look here at Cap Friendly, the screenshot right here. Again, there's a couple guys that are up for contract years that, depending on how the team is doing, could be moved at the trade deadline. Two of note: Bo Horvat and JT Miller, both unrestricted free agents last year, or this upcoming season, after the 22-23 season. They could be moved at the deadline if things aren't going their way. Kuzmenko going to play for a big year here, as well as Justin Dowling. Again, big years for them coming up. But then on the back end, it's not there. They're pretty much locked up moving forward. Luke Shen, obviously, continuing to play for his life in the NHL to try to stay in it. Travis Dermott, he's got a big restricted year up ahead. Goaltenders are locked up with Thatcher Demko being your main guy. He's locked up here for a while, so not too worried about him. And Hoglander, technically on the IR right now, but he's on a restricted free agent year, so maybe could potentially see a big year out of him, which would be huge for the Vancouver Canucks, and I think would help them in the long run. But at the end of the day, I don't know if they will have a similar performance to last year, almost making the playoffs. They could be around that 35 to 45 win mark this year, depending on how things go with injuries, streaks, how players are performing. Pettersson, that top line of Pettersson, Besser, and Horvat, or it's Pettersson, Besser, and JT Miller, they need to stay healthy. Does Connor Garland have a bounce back year? I know things didn't go as well as he wanted them to last year. They're going to have to find a way to put it together and get things going on the right track. If one, they want to keep some players around, and two, they want to make a run for the Cup, which, again, it could be the case this year, but there are a couple other teams in their division that I think will stand between them and moving forward in the playoffs, at least for this upcoming season. Who knows in the future, depending on what moves they make. If they move on from Horvat and JT Miller at the deadline, things could get ugly in the next couple years for this team with the rebuilding, depending on draft picks and who they could potentially pick up if they are to move on from Horvat and JT Miller. But I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I want to hear from the Vancouver Canucks fans out there. What do you think this upcoming season is going to be like? Are they going to be able to continue their momentum from last year onto this upcoming season and hit that 45-50 win mark to make the playoffs and make a push for the Cup and keep some key players around? Or are things going to go sideways, become sellers at the trade deadline, and move on into the future looking for some answers? Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys have made it this far into the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the community. We are growing here throughout the season, and I'm excited to get and join you all on this journey. I enjoy making these videos for you guys, but that's going to be it for today's episode. There will be more of these in the upcoming days, so stay tuned to that, but I hope you guys have a good one, and as always, stay dusty.